Shalom, beloved, and hopefully everyone is doing wonderful this fine day. One of the brothers and I, we were having a conversation, and he wanted my opinion, my view, right, my take on all these videos that have been coming of lately, right, with these debates between the Israelite community and the Christian community. And it's a lot, family. It was a lot, and I'm not going to address or share everything that I said because, again, it's a lot. It's just a lot to unpack. But I'm going to try my best to share with you. I want to say two things that was very, very important or noticeable to me. Now, mind you, I in all fairness, I didn't see all. I didn't see all of these debates, right? And I'm pretty sure there's a lot of them. But I've seen enough. And there's going to be those that say, well, these debates, these discussions, whatever you want to say, are necessary. You know. Pun the expression, that's debatable. That's debatable. But anyway, dealing with these debates, one in particular that I want to really touch upon, and that was the one between the Christian lady and the 7 Israelite sisters. I mean, like I say, family, there's tons of these videos out there from different Christian organizations and the Israelite community, going way back to these apologetics and stuff like that. But again, this one in particular, especially now that we are seeing this awakening, right? And I think I think a lot of these debates are the Christian community trying to do what they call damage control. They're trying to do damage control because this movement, this awakening, is gaining a lot of attention, right? Again, could be good, could be bad. All depends on how you look at it. But the thing the two things that jumped out at me, right? And it's occurred in a few of these debates. Whenever these debates come about, from the Christian perspective, they address us as the Black Hebrew Israelite, right? The Black Hebrew Israelites. That's number one. That's number one, because it's just not this lady. And I don't think she was as focused on it from that perspective. But again, you can see, people try to do a separation. But this is the thing: when we address these communities, for the most part, we don't say white Christians, black Christians, Mexican Christians, or Japanese or whatever Christian. We just say Christians. But they address our community as the Black Hebrew Israelite, right? The Black Hebrew Israelites. And it's a dog whistle for number one. And number two, it's really to diminish. It's to diminish our claim. It's really to diminish our claim. Which let me try to address that before I really get to the other part, the second one. And I'm going to use something that people say year after year after year, right? And this is 2026, whatever year it is, people always say, well, being that it's whatever year, being that it's 2026, especially with the the access that we all have to technology, and that technology can connect us with information, right? You can do a Google research or what have you. There's AI. There's many tools at our disposal. Well, we can do a research. We can do a quick search on books, literature. There's articles that will show you a clear path, right, of who are the descendants of the ancient Israelites, or at least support the claim that we have, at least that much. But these people will not do any of that. Because again, it's really not about the information. It's not about, even following the words of the Most High, right? It's not even about following that. It's really about what their pastors say. It's really about not only what their pastors say, it's about what the so-called religious authorities have said, right? Even to the point where when you start really digging into the ideology of Christians, of the Christian faith, it's really rooted in replacement theology. It's really rooted in, and for my people, so-called black people, so-called Negroes, right, so-called African Americans, it's really not only. It's really an insult, because the same people that gave you Christianity, they're the same people that stole your identity, right? Not only stole your identity, but gave you a social construct. The same system, the same people are working together to hide this. And then these people will say, well, they like to quote scriptures. Well, John 3:16 and so on and so forth. But remember, these verses were in the Bible from the beginning, but they didn't use these verses when it came down to conquering us as a people. We had no souls. We had to be converted. We were cursed, with black skin and so on and so forth. Never really using these verses to give us salvation, right? From their perspective, to give us salvation, because the salvation is a whole nother discussion. But if even when you go back into the Christian black codes of what, that's 1724, right? We can only follow the religion of our slave masters, which also means that we can only get into the kingdom, or get into heaven, or get any kind of salvation, with our slave masters, approval. Again, which bring me to my last point. Over the last 500 years, we can say for at least the last 500 years, Christianity been pushed, been taught through the lens of white supremacy, right? Been pushed throughout the world from the European perspective. And now that all this information is coming out, who are the descendants of the ancient Israelites, it doesn't matter now. And that's why I say I really can't take these people serious. Which goes back into, again, like I said, since they like to make this separation, black Hebrew Israelites, right? So let me talk about white Christians. Not to give so-called black Christians a pathway, because they should know better by now, looking at the history of this country in Catholicism. But anyway, but with white Christians, how can I take these people serious when, again, you're going to question the integrity of my people that's trying to reconnect with the covenant that the Most High gave to our ancestors. When you change the identity, you change the identity of the Messiah, of the patriarchs, of the matriarchs, of the apostles, and so on and so forth. Not to mention going to the law, changing the day of worship, right? The high holy days. I mean, most of, when you look at all the denominations of Christianity, because these people like to say that, well, there's so many different beliefs from the black Hebrew Israelites, but look at all the different belief system in religion, in Catholicism, right? In the Christian community. But we don't go into that. You got to remember, we are people trying to reconnect. So there's a lot that we were disconnected from and that we are lost, and we're trying to get back familiar to. And these things were hidden. So there's going to be some discrepancies because we got to filter all the foolishness, all the lies, all the deception. But like I say, family, I can't even take these so-called white Christians serious, because instead of looking at all the damage that Christianity started, that they created, it's question the integrity of my people. So why don't you start there first? Start there first. Like I said, family, like I said, last but not least, for my people, in what we call the way, the truth, right? However you want to frame it. That's not what the Messiah told us to do anyway. We're not supposed to be going to the ways of the Gentiles. We're supposed to be going to wake up the lost sheep of the house of Israel. In fact, the Gentiles are supposed to cleave to us. Like I said, family, it's a lot. But for those that get the message, you get it. With that being said, as usual, peace, love. Shalom.